Now we on.
All right. What up, y'all?
We back.
So listen, we've been going through the Preaching Collective story of Esther. Today we're going to be in, let's look through 5 through 7. I think that's just a good collection of chapters that we can kind of dig into. So, continuing on from chapter 4, Esther.
Previously in Esther.
Previously in the Preaching Collective.
True. It's kind of
you know what I mean? You gotta promote what we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Yo, if you like what you're hearing, go on to the YouTube channel, subscribe, drop a like button.
Ring that bell.
It helps our channel.
Ring
the bell for notifications. And hey, you know what? Real talk though. You should drop a comment and be like, hey, y'all need to do a Preaching Collective on this.
Okay.
So go in the comments, and if there's anything that you like, hey, you know what? Y'all should do a Preaching Collective on this because I got questions.
Let's do it.
Drop those. We might do a Preaching Collective based on what y'all drop in there. So make that happen.
Make that happen for us. So Esther 5. Esther comes in, and I think Esther, she kind of crafty with it. You know what I'm saying? She got like this interesting vibe where she like, okay, she got the pep talk from Mordecai.
Right.
She's courageous now. If I perish, I perish. Mordecai, go do what I told you to do. You know what I'm saying? The people. Now it's like, all right. And now she does risk her life to go into the king's spot unannounced. Apparently he liked what he saw.
Yo. Yeah. Esther was like, I got to use my assets and come up in here.
I mean,
and the king was like, yo, cuz. Yo, what's happening?
I ain't seen you in a while.
Yo, what's happening? What's happening?
How you doing?
How you doing?
You can come in. Yo, I know it's a lot and everything, and you know what I'm saying? I know when people come into my spot, they can get their head chopped off, but not this one. She can, she can come all the way in.
She can come through. You know what I'm saying?
Come through.
She can come through.
That's
what he said. That's the translation. Let's say that.
Let's say that somewhere.
You see that, Crystal?
I mean, that's the new neighborhood translation. So, you know, look up that NNL on Bible Gateway. You go see it. NNT.
Facts. So she comes through. He gives the golden scepter to her, and
that would be scepter, but I
scepter.
Like how you did that.
I can't.
The sceptra.
You know what I'm saying? Pronounce.
Get the scrimp in the knot.
It happens sometimes.
Get the sceptra. Yeah.
So, and she like, yo, let's go to this feast. Let's go to this banquet.
Because he like
now, these people, they like banquets, they like feasts, they like to turn up. You know what I'm saying? So they go to that's the first one. Then there's a second one. And he like, yo, like what?
Well, back up. I mean, so the first feast.
Pump the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth just mentioning you talk about her being crafty. So let's point out the craftiness, right? So she could have been like, yes, here's what's going up, but she knows like, no, So she sets it up right for how she's gonna reveal what she needs to reveal. And to deal with Haman, right? And so this first feast is like, hey, let's have a feast for just you, me, and Haman. And you just gotta love. I mean, this is where, the story has the details in the story are great. Haman's like, oh man, I made it.
Yo,
he goes home,
queen and the king.
You know, I mean, this guy's so full of himself, right? Like, look,
he thinks he
comes
is
home,
everything.
Tells his friends, the splendor of his riches is verse 11 of chapter 4. All the sons I got to promotions, and now Esther said no one can be at this feast except me.
Now that's the second one.
Yeah, no, this is the first one.
Is that the first one or the second one?
First one.
This is the first one. Yeah, so this is chapter 4 and end of chapter 4, and it was interesting. He sees all that, and yet he's still obsessed with the fact that this one guy Mordecai doesn't want him. Right. That doesn't bow to him.
Not
right?
happy.
And even after all that, I mean, it just shows you like it's never enough, right? Yeah. You could think like he could ignore that, but no. That's when his wife says, all right, hang Mordecai, right, in the morning. And he's all hyped for that. And then this brings in what you've mentioned in previous Preaching Collective.
What about your friends?
The story when he was, the king is having trouble falling asleep.
Yeah.
Right? Now it finally comes back full circle.
Hold on, you're saying too much. You like pump the brakes and you like, well, let me tell the story. I was like,
now shifting over into chapter 6 regarding that, the turning point in the whole story. This is kind of like the best Uno card game ever.
Hold on, have we dealt with all of chapter 5 yet?
Wait, hold on.
We going so fast. We 4 minutes in.
All right.
Okay.
Yo, let's slow down. We all been in seminary. Let's observe the text real quick. Let's observe the text. Esther is crafty. Let's talk about that.
Is she crafty though?
Thank you. All right, let's go there.
I hear commentators like it was almost like she was scared. And like if we go back to last week, like there's a lot of,
Yeah, she got people fasting to do this.
She's kind of timid. Yeah, she got people fasting. Obviously, she's not approaching it. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. We don't know. You're right.
It could be like she chickened out.
You're right. It's a again, this is where we bring our own biases in, right? That's possible that she's sort of gearing up to say what she needs to say.
And when we get to 7, I'll point that out for you.
Right.
And it says it a couple times too. So by the time, the first one is she comes in, walks in. I would, I could see the sort of like, I don't know how this is going to go. People are fasting. If I perish, I perish. And now I'm walking in. He doesn't kill me. All right. Pass the first test. We in there. He goes, look, what's on your mind? What's your request? I'll give you whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? You
can have whatever you like.
Thank you for that.
Shout out to
I will give you half the kingdom. Like, just tell me what you want. And she's like, yo, if it's like that, if it's really like that, you have dinner with me. And that's the first time, right? So he goes, Haman goes, and they go eat. And it's after they get a little tipsy, because it's like they drink some wine.
Well, now you're skipping ahead of chapter.
No. I'm not. This is not true. This is 5 verse 4. Esther replied, if the king is so inclined, let the king and Haman come today to the banquet I have prepared. Verse 6 or verse 5. So the king and Haman went to the banquet that Esther had prepared. 6. While at the banquet of wine, the king said to Esther, yo, okay, so tell me, what do you want? What do you want? And then she says, and then she goes, yo, if it's really like that, let's go to this. Hey, you want to come out to dinner with me again?
That's what I'm saying.
So I do. There's a sense where you could go, what? Let's really I want to make sure you're in a good mood. Again, I could have walked in there and my life could have been going like that. It's not. So I want to make sure I build and build and build. And, again, there's a lot of cultural practice where it's just like, hey, a gift brings you before great men. Yeah. It's like, let me just make sure I'm just kind of like.
It does help if they're potentially drunk too.
Right.
Just saying.
Yo, Meg Thee Stallion says something about that in one of them songs. You know what I'm saying? Like when people not in their right mind, then you start asking for stuff. I'm like, is that what she's doing? Oh,
so, all of that, yes and amen. Chapter 6. Can we go to chapter 6 now, James?
No, that's verse 7.
Well, I mean, we do got a lot more chapters.
I feel you. Okay.
There's a lot here. We can't talk about everything, right?
Yeah, but the only thing I'm saying is to tease out what happened.
Oh, yeah,
that first time that she goes in there, it's like, hey, come to dinner with me again. Then the second time, it's like a more private one, and that's where Haman then goes, man, look at the light. Look how Look where I've come at, right? Yeah. And while he's doing that, he walks outside and sees Mordecai, and it's like, man, I need to do something. But that's what's funny. Yeah. He's like, I need to do something about that. And while he's telling his friends, like, yo, I have made it, but I got this thorn in my side, this bane of my existence, Mordecai. What do I do about him? They're like, hey, you know what? Why don't you build a thing to hang him on?
Get him out of here. Yeah.
And he goes, I like that idea. Yeah. Right. I'm going to do that.
And his confidence that I can tell the king.
I can just do it.
Yeah, he can just do it. No one can stop him. There'll be
well, he has every reason to think that though, right? Chapter 3.
The system is set up that way.
Yeah. Right? So we go to chapter 6, but that part where he's like, that's a great idea. Y'all make that happen. And we gonna do that.
I'm gonna go talk to the king,
and I'm gonna go have this feast because that's how much I'm balling right now.
Started from the bottom.
So I'm on my way. Now we in chapter 6.
Ooh.
Now, this is like the greatest Uno card game finesse ever, right? Along with Monopoly that I kill everybody in.
John, stop lying.
Oh, I do. I am the Monopoly.
John, stop.
Come on, bro. John. You know this. You know how this gets down.
You in the Lord's house right now, bro. What's the score? What's the score? What's the score right now?
Bro.
Just tell them the score.
I have a lot
No. It's recording right now.
W's, bro. Like a lot of
W's. Well, who has the most W's?
No.
Who has the most W's? No, John,
back
stop.
to what we
John,
were saying.
Don't be
Along
lying.
with Monopoly.
All right, then.
And Uno. I can beat people in Uno as well. There's a card in Uno that
John, the Lord is not pleased with your falsities right now.
You can hit a reverse, and you put that reverse down, and it shifts the whole paradigm, shifts the whole entire game. Ask all the people that have come over my house and have done this and lost. With that said,
This brother sound like Haman, bro. Bro, look at me. You know what I'm saying?
With that said, chapter 6 is the Uno card that is very interesting. So the king can't sleep. For some reason, he's got insomnia. He wants to hear a bedtime story to try to get him to sleep, I guess. Some of his people come over and they tell the story of what I would call a fingerprint of God.
To help him go to sleep.
I'm joking with that. Maybe it was for him to go to sleep, maybe not.
I have no idea.
The point is, he couldn't sleep.
Right.
He wants somebody to tell him a story, right? So,
Totally.
With that said, the story that comes up is the story that Mordecai saves his.
I mean, the fingerprint of God. He couldn't sleep. Right. Couldn't sleep the same night that Haman
was on his way to go tell him.
Mordecai, right. And so just all the coincidences, right? We would say here,
quote unquote coincidences.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like legit.
And then so he can't sleep the same night, and then the story that he hears out of all the annals, right, and all the
stories that there's to be.
This is the one.
This is the one that comes up.
How is God
reverse,
bro? The timing of it, like, yo, y'all built that. I'm on my way to go tell the king that this is what I'm about to do, but the king is asleep or can't sleep, and then this is what happens.
The old church folks used to say, "God may not come when you want him."
Well, but he's always on time.
Always on time.
Shallow, praise him.
Hey, talk to
Amen.
him.
Lights and walls. With that said, though, the king's like, "Yo, so what do we do to honor the person Mordecai that saved my life?" Basically,
Yo, this is so great.
Then Haman.
No. Here's what's funny. So he's like, yo, who's in the outer court right now?
Yeah.
So the king's like, yo, what do we do for this man? And he goes, who's in the outer court? Like, who's here?
Who's here?
Hey, yo, who's in the office?
Haman.
And the eunuch goes, hey, it looks like Haman's outside walking around.
Bring him in here.
And he like, yo, call him inside.
And he's like, yo,
Haman's there to ask what he's about to ask. You know,
he's coming.
That's the only reason Haman's there.
He's coming to try to get to finesse.
He wants the king to sign the dotted
line to kill. Right?
Yes.
Mordecai.
The king goes,
so juicy.
What should I do to honor a person that saved?
Who's worthy of being honored?
Who's worthy of being honored?
Haman
thinks he's talking about him. Like, that's the funny part of it.
Bro,
it is a comedy.
This is wonderful.
So he
that's why
it is a comedy.
Bro, that's what I was saying. I was like, man, I mean, for him to call it a parody, I'm going like, dog, it is funny. I'm like,
it's hilarious.
Let's talk about these characters, because Haman's like, who could he possibly be thinking
It's
about
gotta
to honor
be me.
over me? Like, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what you should do to honor this man. This is how you should honor him. And I was like, yo, this
talks about giving
is
them all
wonderful.
the stuff, crowns. I mean, robes, like just the works.
And this is what it's a window into Haman's mind. Like this is what he's about. Like I want everyone to acknowledge that I am the best.
Parade me around.
This somebody needs to read. I'm sure it's been done, but somebody needs to do this like in that sort of like parody fashion. Ramon, were you about to read the whole thing or
no?
I feel like it's worth reading what he did. And so it says, what should be done for the man whom the king wishes to honor? Haman thought to himself, who is it that the king would want to honor more than me? So Haman said to the king, for the man whom the king wishes to honor, let them bring royal attire which the king himself has worn, and a horse on which the king himself has ridden, one bearing the royal insignia. Then let this clothing and this horse be given to the king's noble officials. Let him then clothe the man whom the king wishes to honor, and let him lead him about through the plaza of the city on the horse, calling before him, so shall it be done to the man whom the king wishes to honor. And I'm reading this like, Haman has no idea what he's doing.
He doesn't know what's like. No. He don't know what he info.
So full of
this is the ultimate
blind.
Meanwhile. I love it.
So, this is all happening, but then the whole thing is reversed, and I say the whole Uno thing because everything that Haman mentions is going to be given and honored for Mordecai,
whom he thinks is
whom he wants to kill,
who he was there to kill.
Yeah. Keep in mind that that edict back in chapter 3 is still in place. Still in place. But with that said, Ramon, I mean Mordecai. Now, I mean, what do we do with this idea that now Haman is not the person, it's Mordecai, and how is all reversed?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
Cries.
Haman does all this, right? And then, it's funny, at the end of chapter 6, it says, verse 12, so Mordecai goes back to the king's gate, right? Probably put back his sackcloth and ashes, right? I mean, he just... there's a side of me always wonders if Mordecai would have wanted this himself. He was given, if he had a chance to say what he would get. But Haman, you could tell what he's like, I can't believe this happened. But I really find he's going to now go to this other feast where the reversal is going to really hit its climax, right? But here's another sort of indication of, I think, an awareness of, let's say, the broader canon, right, of what God is doing with his people. So this is verse 13. So he tells his wife and his friends what happened, and it's like then his wife and wise men tell him this. Like they realize, oh, wait a second. And remember, they're a pagan people. Yeah. So it just tells you like the peoples of that world were aware of the Jewish people. Because notice, here's these Persians, and they say, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, already they're seeing stuff has happened to him, right? Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people. You will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him. So, and that's
how it ends. That's how
but that's one of those verses that sort of shows. I do think it's an awareness of the broader picture, the bigger story that God protects His people, right? Yeah. And they knew it. Like they're aware, like, oh, the Jewish people, like they may be down and out at times, but like that's
always comes through.
Yeah, but God's still their God. He will judge.
I wonder if they knew that, because they were the ones that gave Haman the idea to build the gallows to hang him on.
Yeah,
because when he was talking about, man, there's this Mordecai, man, I think he told him he was Jewish. He was of the Jews. And they were like, build a gallows for him and hang him on it. I like that. I'm going to go tell the king, and then gets caught in this like reverse. And now he comes back to like, man, and then they just flip on him. I'm like, huh?
Well, I don't know if it does say if he's of the Jewish people. I don't know if that's like sort of like they don't know for sure. Yeah, but they're getting in a sense like there's more going on with him.
Yeah,
maybe the name Mordecai was a hint. But no, actually no.
Well, I mean, again, right, Mordecai is a Babylonian name. You're right. You know, so they're probably like, oh,
that's true.
Well, it's just weird to me.
Yeah.
You know, that.
But there's an awareness that there's more going on here.
Yes, for sure.
So who knows how much he told them? But by this point, they're like, they're off the Haman train. They're like, we need to get off this.
Quick with the quickness, bandwagon. They were like, oh, we need to jump off this one.
Yep,
that's wild.
I feel like he couldn't even like feel. I don't even know if he had the chance to feel the weight of what had just happened. Like, he's on this height, going back to tell the king, like, hey, I get to finally like get rid of this pain in my side, and it's almost like it gets driven deeper in, and then he's got to go to the banquet, and then that's the end of chapter 6.
Well, it says he
don't have time. He don't have a lot of time to process.
That's what I'm saying. Right.
Well, he said he headed home and he mourned and he covered his head like you could.
Yeah, he's upset.
Yeah, he is. Something's there. Maybe not the
but like the full
weight of it. Oh gosh, no.
Because it's like while they were still speaking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and was like, hey, you got to come to this banquet. Like, it's on. Woo. And he's like, like, I wonder how he's even thinking, like, walking into that banquet. Everybody's happy. There's drink. There's people around, servants. The king's there like, yo, Haman, what up, cuz? Yeah. Come sit down. Esther here. He's just telling his wife and everybody, like, hey, I get to go to this banquet. Right. Like, she ain't letting nobody else come in. And then this happens.
Well, banquets, and more banquets. Yo, these people, man, they used to get it in. Chapter 7 kind of comes in, and verse 2. And on the second day, as they were drinking wine after the feast, the king again said to Esther, "What is your wish, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it should be fulfilled." So again, and now that's repeated. He says that before. Now he says it again, and then now this is what Queen Esther says: "If I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it please the king," for some reason I have a vision in my head of her like probably like batting her eyes or something like that as she's talking. You know what I mean?
He's funny.
If it found favor in your sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be granted. Let it be granted for my wish and my people for my request. For we have been sold. I and my people, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. If we had been sold merely as slaves, men and women, I would have been silent, for our affliction is not to be compared with the loss of the king. That's what she says. They continue on,
but the king feels that.
Esther says, he says, who
did this?
Who did this?
Yeah.
And she says, the wicked Haman.
Your boy.
The boy.
Your man's and all.
Man. Your man's in them.
She's like, yo, get your man.
I just wanted to point out really quick, and you can take it wherever you need to, but I would have remained silent. She said, now this is why I say Esther's, her character,
that's fair.
She was like, I would have remained silent if you would have just sent us off as slaves. So she wasn't even going to advocate if I was.
Well, is that her being clever there? Kind of like,
So?
What's interesting because she even says, it's for our affliction is not to be compared with the loss to the king. She's sort of, playing to his like pride,
like ego stroking.
We know he's an ego-centered, like it's all about me. I wonder if there's a little bit of that, like,
I can see
I
that.
gotta say this in a way that still centers him, right?
Yeah, I would probably go. It's probably both. Like, there's some fear, but there's like, hey, but I'm here. I know the king, like, and I know he feel. You know what I'm saying? I know he
feeling me.
So I'm like, hey, king, I'm distressed, man, because they trying to kill us, and I know, like, if it was just they want to sell us, I would have been fine. But I mean, because I know, like, I mean, the loss to you, I would never do that. But they're trying to, they're trying to like fully murder us, like completely take us out. Like they're trying, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's probably thinking, like,
my people. She says my people. She's identifying.
Yeah. But he's probably thinking they trying to take you from me.
Exactly. That's exactly
mine.
That's exactly.
He like, yo, I mean, I can't. No, who? You tell me
Tell
who.
me. Tell me who
the
did
wicked Haman. And then this is where, and this is what I'm saying, the whole reversal thing.
Oh, no, it's reversed. This is full on. This is draw 4. This draw 4. I'm picking the color you don't have in your hand right now, and you got to draw and draw and draw and draw. It's that. It's over. It's reverse plus draw 4. It's like, bro, I'm out. Like, I'm not winning this.
Notice this though, like throughout the narrative, the king constantly gets angry. He constantly gets mad from time to time. It says here this idea. One it says, I love this, by the way, that Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. I like that and the queen there. It's so funny because she's Jewish. And the idea that he wanted to annihilate the whole people group of the Jews. Now he's terrified of not only the Persian king, but the queen. I just think that's hilarious. But this idea of, you notice in verse 7, the king arose in wrath from the wine drinking and went into the palace garden. But Haman stayed to beg for his life to the queen. So he's angry. He's pissed off. He goes to the palace and he's probably thinking like,
what I'm going to do to this dude?
What I'm going to do with this dude? This is my second in command. This, whoop, 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 whoop. And then
he doesn't care.
Right. So he's angry. Haman's begging for his life because he know it's about to.
He don't got time.
He don't got no time.
Time is running out.
The king comes back in. He returns from his wrath, from him being angry, and sees Haman
on the couch,
on top of his wife, on top of his queen. So he's already angry now. Keep that in mind.
He's just falling on the couch where Esther was.
He is not in this right mind.
But come on, the optics of that. The optics.
Yeah, he thought it
of
was
what the text says he's begging for his life.
Yeah.
So he's I imagine he's begging for his life.
Yeah, he could be reaching.
Please.
He try to reach into.
And then he's like, he falls down and but the optics of he's already angry. What I'm going to do with him? And he comes in from the palace.
Haman, Esther, it almost proves what Esther said, right?
Exactly.
He wants to kill us. He wants to get us.
And now he's lunging at her like, yo, trying to beg.
And this is the thing where he's like, even assault the queen in my presence, in my house.
That's what I'm saying, right? Yeah. The optics of what it would look like. So sometimes.
Because Esther's probably like, she probably like trying to move back. Like, hey,
chill. Like, get off, yo.
You doing a little too much. And now the king walk in is like, yo, in my house?
Yeah.
You go come in front of.
What's great too, he said, so he says what you just said, and I've always liked this line. As the word left the mouth of the king, they covered Haman's face. It's like,
Yeah, no. Y'all seen them like them CIA shows. It was like
they even have to say anything.
Yeah. They put that bag over your head, throw you in the van. It was like, oh yeah, Haman, you out.
Yep.
It's like, hey, Haman, you out, cause like it's done.
Sometimes it's
a wrap.
It's sometimes, and it's interesting. Just obviously thinking about this from this perspective. Haman obviously he dies. He's hung
on the gallows that he had built.
On the gallows that he had built
to kill Mordecai.
I mean,
complete reverse.
Yeah.
Complete reversal.
He turned it. Ooh, shallow.
Put
that in there.
And then then it says
color red.
The wrath of the king was abated. Like he's settled down.
Yeah.
Sometimes God will allow things to look like something that it's not in order to accomplish his ultimate purposes, right? Yeah. Technically, Haman was not assaulting Esther. He wasn't. He was begging for his life, actually. Mm-hmm. But it looked like something that the king did not approve of. And then, so sometimes going back to the idea of tracing the fingerprints of God, we don't see God directly sometimes, but he's still there. And he has a way of reorchestrating the board game to have enemies be destroyed.
Hey man, it does say vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Yeah. So like that's a clear situation.
Bible says pride comes before the fall. Haman's prideful, so he fell big time. So a lot of stuff here, but man, I can't wait to preach the Book of Esther. This is gonna be so dope. Yeah. Can't wait. With that said, that's gonna conclude our time in the Preaching Collective. Esther 5 through 7. As we always say, love God, love people. We are out. Peace.